Stukas.
Give me an idea of what we're hoping to see out of this one.
You never know what you're going to find, but hopefully here there could be the substantial remains of the front end of the aeroplane.
Wow.
We don't expect to find huge amounts, you know, of the back, or obviously the wings, because the aeroplane, you know, with the external undercarriage, all that would have been ripped off. But we're hoping we're going to find the engine and some remains of the cockpit.
Look at that. Hey, that's terrific.
It hasn't taken the team long to find some bullets and the rusted back of one of the aircraft's machine guns. But we're looking for bigger stuff, and that means a bigger machine.
We should rip through it a bit more now, shouldn't we?
Yeah. That's a big old lump, isn't it?
So Stuka's a big aeroplane. I think there's going to be a fair pile of wreckage here. You know, definitely.
At long last, I'm about to come face to face with one of Hitler's most feared war machines. This is part of the Stuka's cockpit canopy, the large perspex hood under which the aircraft's pilot and gunner would sit. There are bits of it everywhere.
But we're clearly on top of, you know, quite a large chunk of debris here, aren't we? I mean,
well,
there's all sorts of bits
yeah,
coming
I mean, this is looking quite good now.
Yeah.
There's some very big pieces sort of showing up down here now. We've never actually had this opportunity of seeing a Stuka site like this ever before.
That is extraordinary, isn't it? It's a great big lump, and you can see just what this crash has done. I mean, everything's mangled and buckled. It's a violent event, isn't it?
It is. It certainly shows that violent impact, doesn't it?
It wasn't just soldiers, though, who faced the terror of the Stuka dive bombers. In the chaos of the fighting in France, Stukas also targeted fleeing civilian refugees. But at our dig, it's a chance for former RAF fighter pilot Peter Ayerst to tell me just how the RAF did tackle the Stukas.
Now, of course, we're seeing it in this condition on the ground. You will have seen many Stukas in the air.
Oh, yes.
What do you remember of them?
Well, first of all, they weren't terribly fast, but they were good in the dive because they had special dive brakes which slowed them from gaining too much speed, so they were able to make the bombing more accurate. When they were in that dive, it's almost not quite vertical, but it was a very steep dive. But of course, by slowing up like that, it made them much easier targets for the British fighters.
What's becoming evident is that despite exploding on impact, much more of the Stuka has survived than Steve had first anticipated.
There's a couple of instruments there at the cockpit. One of them, actually, which still has the glass intact, well, nearly intact.
Some of the finds are technical, like this circuit breaker or the speedometer. Others are more personal, like the first aid kit, which contains burnt bandages and the remains of a hypodermic syringe.
You've done this all before.
Yes.
And whilst I've dug up numerous things from Romans to Saxons, this is kind of new for me.
This is the first Junkers 87.
Well, certainly, yeah. But, you know, I'm amazed at what's here.
This is what remains of the Stuka's cockpit. A tangled mass of wires and twisted metal. We're getting much closer to the engine.
Look at that.
Good Lord.
Now, that's what you call an aircraft wreck, isn't it?
Yeah, I bet that weighs something.
Is that the engine?
The engine was so deep, it gives you some idea of just how fast the Stuka must have been going when it finally hit the ground.
Well done, Steve.
Well
done, Gareth.
It's good.
Oh, nicely done. Our final piece of the jigsaw puzzle, really, isn't it, I suppose?
The engine and key parts of the wreckage will be cleaned before going to a local museum, striking mementos of our most perilous year.
And in many ways, an extraordinary thought. I mean, here we all are, another generation, several generations removed from you, Peter, but this is part of your life. This is your youth represented here in many ways.
Yes.
This is 1940,
yes,
sitting on this grassy field.
Absolutely.
At the end of May 1940, the British Army was trapped in a shrinking pocket around Dunkirk, and their future looked bleak. Operation Dynamo was in full swing, and the Royal Navy was evacuating thousands of troops from Dunkirk harbour. Thousands more waited on the beaches close by, with many swimming or wading to the larger vessels lying offshore.
There's no getting away from the fact that Dunkirk is a very moving place to come to, but for me, it's much more personal because amongst the many thousands of men waiting to be evacuated was my own grandfather. And one of the things I've got that survives from the time is this. It's his pocket Bible. Inside, the names of his children, which he'd inscribed in it in 1939, are all smudged. The ink has run. But he and many like him must have looked out to sea as I'm doing now and thought, will I ever see any of these people again?
So many troops were trapped here that the Navy used anything it could to bring them home. From paddle steamers to rowing boats, all would play their part. But not every ship made it home, as the beaches of Dunkirk bear witness. One such casualty was the Crested Eagle, a pre-war pleasure cruiser which took day trippers from London's Tower Bridge to Southend in Essex. This is the Crested Eagle today. On the 29th of May 1940, she had just pulled away from Dunkirk when a bomb smashed through her crowded deck. Ruptured engine oil from her tanks ignited, turning her into a blazing inferno, where 300 men drowned or were burnt alive. But despite the risks, men like Richard Sampson were determined to get home.
I saw the little ships and the Navy, and I thought then that I could swim, so I was quite confident that I could reach them. We waded out. There was bodies lying on the seabed, which we were stumbling over, and others were floating. We had to push them aside, and eventually we got within a couple of 100 yards of the boat, and the sailors said, "Make your bloody mind up, hurry up, we haven't got all night." Then they grabbed us by the scruff of the neck, more or less, and dragged us on board.
338,000 troops were rescued, including over 100,000 French soldiers. But they had left almost all of their equipment behind. "70 years on, I'm curious to find out just how much may survive here under the beaches of Dunkirk. So I've come to meet French historian Paul Deveau, who spent years searching for evidence of the catastrophe.
Bonjour. Ça va?
Bonjour.
Bonjour, monsieur. But this is obviously a good spot, Paul. Ah! Look at that, a spoon.
Avec la flèche anglaise, oui, oui. Et elle est datée souvent, dans l'autre sens, 1939.
1939.
Oui.
1939, Mappin and Webb. Well, they're still in business, aren't they? What have we got there?
Ah, cire-bouton.
Oh, yeah, let's have a look, yeah. This is for cleaning buttons.
Oui.
Yeah. Perfect, there. That's exactly how it would work. Exactly how it would work. Anglais?
Anglais?
Oui, il va montrer le rasoir.
A razor?
Oui.
Anglais?
Aussi anglais, oui, oui, oui.
Working on the shaft there is almost as good as the day it was made. Ah! What is that a boot? No. A gas mask? That's a gas mask. Anglais?
C'est anglais, c'est un masque à gaz anglais, oui.
Ah, bon.
De
Okay.
la Deuxième Guerre.
D'accord. The preservation on that is fantastic. That is absolutely extraordinary. And the glass is in there as well. Just really tells the story of what's left on this beach. I mean, 70 years on, and things like that still come up. Amazing. It's difficult sometimes to imagine it here on a day like this, but when you look around you and you get this sense of everything that's been dropped and just finding those bits and pieces, things that really tell a human story, that to me is what the archaeology of this beach is all about. It's not just the bits and pieces that relate to the war, bullets and that sort of thing, but everyday things, razors that we found. Just human life left behind in a hurry.
While most of the army made it home from France, nearly 60,000 would not. Many of them lie buried here in the Commonwealth War Grave Cemetery at Dunkirk.
Well, by the 4th of June, it was all over. And the last signal that was sent from the beaches here at Dunkirk back to Dover said very simply, British Expeditionary Force evacuated. And I'm pleased to say that my grandfather was amongst them. He finally made it back to Ramsgate and continued to serve for the rest of the war. But he was one of the lucky ones.
But the war was far from over. Britain stood alone, struggling for its very survival. The fight would now shift from the fields of France to the skies above our homes. The Battle of Britain was about to begin.
Later, a witty adaptation of a Jane Austen classic from BAFTA-winning screenwriter Sandy Welch. Easter drama Emma is back-to-back from 10 a.m. Diving on HMS Borealis for the Battle of Britain's secrets next in more Dig 1940.